and welcome to ET Now Hangouts with me, Ankita Saxena. Well, I'm back with yet another exciting episode of meaningful conversations from young influencers, young startup founders, latest trends and what's hot in the market. Well, gone are the days when we were cooped up in our homes during COVID and the hospitality industry had taken a massive hit as a result. But here we are in 2023 eating out like never before. So let's take a look at some of the numbers then. Well, according to a report by Crisil, the food and beverage industry in India generates 3% of the GDP and around two-thirds of the total retail market in India. Well, the Indian food and beverage market size is expected to reach nearly $504 billion by 2027 with a CAGR of 11%. And well, so I decided to speak with Pankil Shah and Sumit Gambhir, who are the co-founders of Neighbourhood Hospitality that owns the popular restro bar Woodside Inn and the cloud kitchens like Woodside Bugershop and the Pantry, to know about their challenges, their expansion plans and the current trends in the F&B industry. Let's take a look. Well, Sumit and Pankil, welcome to ET Now Hangouts. So good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
So, well, Woodside Inn opened its doors in 2007. So it's been, what, 16 odd years? 16 years down the line, one black swan event called COVID. What have been your hits and misses?
So it has been 16 years. So, we do feel old. But at the same time, I think this industry in particular, you have to keep on being motivated and you have to keep on flying. If the moment you stop, you're going to fall down. And that's what also happened to a lot of places during COVID. 16 years have been tremendous for us. We've opened and shut lots of different brands, lots of different restaurants. Of course, Woodside Inn, the Pantry, Bombay Vintage, and we were part of Misty in Colaba. We have our delivery brands, Woodside Bugershop and the Pantry now, which has gone online as a cloud kitchen format. So we've set up various brands. But I think what ties this all together is basically our love for hospitality. And as we keep on telling people, yes, we are a food and beverage brand, but we're hospitality first.
Right.
And I think that is what has set us apart from all the other brands in the market over the last 16 years. COVID was definitely an extremely challenging time, not only for us, but I think for the entire hospitality industry all over the world. But I think we pulled through. I think our experience, I think COVID hit when we were already about 14 years or 13 years into the industry.
Right.
I think that wisdom sort of helped us go through it. And I'm sure that had it happened when we were newer in the industry and fresh into the industry, it would have been a completely different reaction.
Right.
The place where we're sitting here today, Woodside in Bandra, is a COVID child, if you can call it that.
Yeah.
It opened in parts during COVID. But I mean, the last year or so has been amazing. The response has been tremendous.
Yeah, but there's something challenging that you've done before also, as you were the first pub in Mumbai, which was not a brew pub, that started serving craft beer. That was also a risk. How did that pan out, and what are the risks that you have taken and that have really worked for you?
So craft beer definitely, I think it entered the city through Woodside Inn in a lot of ways. And honestly, it came about simply because we all loved beer. Okay, that's where it came out, from our love of beer. And we realized that there is a certain passion that young craft brewers bring to their product, as opposed to a larger manufacturing facility which makes beer more for large scale consumption, as opposed to enjoying the different varieties on offer. And we as Woodside Inn share in that passion, right? We want to grow. We are in the process of growing, but we also want to make sure that that craft element remains and is an essential part of our identity as we grow. Craft beer was that for us. And of course, over the last few years, every outlet for us has been designed in a way which sort of supplements that, complements the craft beer drinking, experience. To the extent where when we opened Woodside in Lower Parel in 2016, we had 25 craft beers on tap, and at that point, it is probably the largest collection of craft beer under one roof in India.
True.
So, that sort of really put us on the map when it came to craft beer. Unfortunately, it had to shut down due to various reasons that year. And but yeah, Bandra, where we're sitting now, again has over 16 craft beers on offer.
Right. So, Pankil, you mentioned, how you were the pioneers of craft beer of sorts in Mumbai. But what are the current trends? What is the younger customer really looking for? And how have you pivoted to these changing demands over time, Sumit?
So, the industry has been at the forefront of, being, creative, in terms of ideas, in terms of menus as well. We have to constantly be evolving. Same has to be with food and beverage. We've felt that we've constantly been creative with our menus, whether it's working with international cheeses, working with ingredients that are local but still have an appeal of some sorts. But when it comes to trends all over the country and with younger people right now, we feel that specialty restaurants, with specialty cuisines is something that is really trending. If earlier when we thought of restaurants for European food, it would be continental food. Right now, there's the specialization for Italian food, Spanish food, American food, and so on and so forth. Same with with Asian cuisine as well. Earlier, you needed to have the Pan-Asian story. Right now, you can have a specialty Thai restaurant, a Vietnamese restaurant, an Asian restaurant, and in Chinese restaurants, you can have dim sum restaurants. You can have say specialty from mainstream China as well. Same thing, if you look at it with with bars as well. What is happening is we started off with the craft beer story and we try to make it our own. The same thing is happening with say gin bars. That's the same thing happening with the cocktail story right now as well. And the cocktail story is really blown up. Everyone's really trying their best to work on a specialty cocktail story. And the times are gone when it was all about a pina colada or a caprioshka. With younger people coming into the industry, there's definitely a lot more love for creativity and trying to push the limits in terms of creativity as well. And I think that's happening and all ends in our industry.
Right, but with that has also a lot of competition has come about. You mentioned the specialty restaurants and being creative with the cocktails and the menu. So there are clearly a lot of competition that has come about, and a lot of them have been really backed by celebrities also. How are you navigating through that competition, and what really makes you stand apart from the crowd?
So competition is always best, for us and for the guests as well. What happens with competition is we're always pushing ourselves to do our best for our guests. So in a way, we look at this story as when we came in, say 16 years ago, the number of options were lower in Bombay. Now that the options are increasing, it's only a good thing, and this also creates multiple segments, whether it's the cafe segment, whether it's specialty restaurants, bars, pubs. We as a brand somewhere we have our foot in most of these segments. But what happens with with competition is that it only pushes everyone to do their best, and I know that's not a bad thing.
Right. One of the things COVID really accelerated and gave birth to also were the cloud kitchens. People were cooped up and they were ordering in whenever they had the permission by the government, of course. And you also have two cloud kitchens, the Pantry and the Woodside Bugershop. Since COVID happened till now, what has changed with the cloud kitchen industry, and how are your businesses doing it? And give us a sense of what is the share of revenue from cloud kitchens versus your restaurant business, just to give an idea of what is the contribution.
Go ahead.
So during the pandemic, of course, cloud kitchens proliferated, right? Simply because there was nothing else to do.
No other option.
No other option. And of course, lots of brands launched, people were ordering left, right and center. And we had two brands that, were already doing deliveries, which was Woodside Bugershop and the Pantry. And we, of course, decided to extend and work on those as part of the Neighbourhood hospitality family of brands, which is Woodside Inn, Pantry and Woodside Bugershop. What happened post-pandemic is obviously their orders going to fall down. So, for example, during the pandemic, right, cloud kitchen was hardly a percentage of sale for us before the pandemic, sorry. it would probably, our entire delivery sale was somewhere around 8 to 9% of our overall revenues, because dine-in revenues were the highest.
Right.
What happened in the pandemic was that 90% of dine-in revenue went down to 10%, 5%.
Yeah.
But the cloud kitchen revenue went
Really
up
picked up,
to
yeah.
70, 60% of our overall revenues. And of course, once the pandemic ended, people started eating out with a vengeance,
Yeah.
and our revenues went back to the pre-COVID levels. So yes, a lot of brands that were established during the pandemic for delivery have suffered.
Yeah.
You are seeing definitely a reduction in cloud kitchen numbers
Yeah.
compared to the pandemic. But I think it is important for a hospitality company to have various different strategies under its umbrella. For us, the cloud kitchen is part of our overall hospitality strategy, which is dine-in as well as delivery. So we have focus on both, and both sort of work well with each other, because a lot of team, a lot of costs are all overlap. So the additional investment required for us as a company to open more cloud kitchens is less than, say, it would be for a pure delivery centric brand.
Right, right. Speaking of that, you also have some expansion plans on the anvil, some 18 plus outlets all across the country.
Yes,
so how is that likely to pan out?
So we are currently in the middle of our fundraise. We are looking to raise money from equity partners to launch more Woodside Inns across the nation.
Right.
We have our eyes set on Pune and Bengaluru next.
Okay.
We of course want to enter NCR, Calcutta, Chennai. These are all cities, Pune, Nashik. These are all cities where we feel that brand Woodside is ready to go.
Right.
Over the last 16 years, we've had the experience to ensure that whichever neighborhood we open in, and that's why our company is called Neighbourhood Hospitality.
Right.
Woodside is ready for that neighborhood. And of course, we'll tweak little things about our Woodside Inn for that neighborhood.
Right. So you mentioned your expansion plans and how you're raising money. You've started the rounds. What are the questions that investors are really asking about, particularly your restaurant business and the F&B industries? What are the apprehensions? What are your challenges in raising funds?
So the restaurant sector, the hospitality sector in India, in particularly the F&B restaurant side of things, is still in the nascent stage of getting formalized, right, as a business. What we've noticed is that a lot of investors are concerned about how organized is this business? Do you have a team that will be able to take the expansion forward? What are the USPs of your brand that will work in a pan-national basis? How do you maintain quality and consistency in different parts of the country? And these are all valid questions, but we also must understand that there are brands that are doing it successfully. Somebody like a Social has already opened 48 as we speak. I think today they're opening the 48th in Calcutta. So it is possible. Of course, in countries like the UK and US, you have Wetherspoons, which is the UK's largest pub chain. They have 800 outlets in just the UK, a country of 60 million people. So, there is that organizational capability in India. And I think it is up to brands like ours, these homegrown brands, to lead the way.
Yeah, very interesting that you mentioned that it's for your brand to lead the way in terms of, restaurant chain business. What is the opportunity that you see for,
Huge. I mean, I won't be overconfident to say that it's a country of 1.4 billion people. No. The consumption class is still, I would say 20 to 30% of that entire, of the country. But at the same time, as per NRA's report just a few years ago, the casual dining restaurant segment is the second fastest growing segment in the restaurant industry after QSRs, So we are seeing that uptake. People are going out. The newer generation, Gen Z, wants to consume more lifestyle products, whether experiences or F&B, clothes, sneakers, and you're seeing that entire ecosystem being lifted at the same time.
Right. Also, for a young budding entrepreneur, we are a show for the young and the restless. For a young budding entrepreneur, because everyone aspires to have a restaurant someday. It's like a fantasy or something on the side. Somebody who wants to get into the F&B industry or the hospitality industry. What would be your advice, and what are the challenges of a young entrepreneur in India in today's times?
No, it's an exciting industry for sure. It's still at the nascent stage, I would say, in terms of being corporatized. What currently is happening is it's some dream for a lot of people where they feel that opening a cafe or a restaurant of their own.
It's trendy. Yeah.
It is. It sounds trendy for sure. But behind the glamour is the hard work.
Yeah.
It's all the sort of ups and downs that you see as well. One thing I would say is that always try and see if you can work your way up. Try and work instead of opening your own restaurant. It would be nice to work. Try and get a hotel management degree. If not, try and work with anything connected to the F&B industry, whether it's, working on the supplier side, the product side, on the marketing side. It could be anything. Yeah. And that experience, the insight into the industry is always a plus when you really jump in, and then you get your hands dirty. Otherwise, I would say it's a super industry. It's a lot. You meet a lot of young people who are creative. Yeah. You're constantly working on something new. I would definitely recommend this being a great industry to be in. We've enjoyed ourselves, and I'd speak for ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sumit and
you.
Pankil. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was great having this chat with you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.